Donald Trump just said some unhinged comments about Ukraine, which echo Russian propaganda. And he did so in a press conference in Mar-a-Lago for 5 minutes. And I wanted to break this stuff down to you and actually give you the real facts behind the stuff that he's saying. At the end of this, I will be sure to give you my opinion. But for right now, let's break down what he said. And then in between each cut that I give you, I'll break down the real fact.
The leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating. And where a country has been blown to smithereens. I would say that, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, it's been a long time since we've had an election.
Russia for the past few months have been pushing this mindset that they do not want Zelensky in power when peace deals come, because essentially Russia and Putin does not want to bow down to Zelensky. So they've been pushing out this propaganda that he's not the legitimate president. That is where Donald Trump has heard that from. And then he mentions that Zelensky is at a 4% approval rating, which is actually not true. In the last polling numbers that took place in December, Zelensky was polling at 52%, with 39% distrusted and then 9% unsure. And to compare, Donald Trump's approval rating is actually at 47%, which means that Zelensky has a higher approval rating than Donald Trump.
That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also.
Saying that it is he that wants Ukraine to hold an election. It's not actually coming from Russia, but he also mentions that other countries want it as well. That is a lie. The only other country that wants Ukraine to have an election is Russia. Now, I guess you could technically say that North Korea is fighting alongside Russia, and so is Iran. So if you want to include them, then yeah, the other baddies in the group also want an election in Ukraine, but not Europe. Europe is understanding Ukraine's constitutional rules and say, okay, martial law is going on because they're being attacked. So yes, Zelensky is the actual president.
I believe President Zelensky said last week that he doesn't know where half of the money is that we gave him. Well, we gave them, I believe, $350 billion, but let's say it's something less than that, but it's a lot.
The United States did not give $300 billion to Ukraine. Congress is the only one that holds the purse here, and they're the ones who approve funding, which is just north of $175 billion. That money, by the way, comes in the form of weapons, not always physical money. There is some that is physical money, but it's like maybe 2-3%. But the way that this system works is like this. Congress approves X amount of funding. Ukraine says we need, I don't know, let's just say missiles for the Patriot system. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but let's say that a new one costs about $1 million. The United States then goes through their inventory and says, hey, look, this Patriot missile is going to be expiring within a year. Okay, let's make a brand new one. So we're going to send Ukraine this older one, and then we'll take the price of a brand new one and make a new one for us. That keeps our economy flowing. It creates jobs. It does help the military complex, and Ukraine gets some kind of weapon. And then we've got things like uranium shells, which we don't use anymore. It's costing us a lot of money to store and a lot of money to take apart. It would be cheaper to give that to Ukraine than spend the money to take them apart and store them. Now, when Zelensky says that $100 million is missing, he's referring to the fact, and this has been something the United States messed up on even under Biden, that they were calculating the price of these things incorrectly. Ultimately, they're charging Ukraine for new things when they're getting old things. And more than likely, between contracts and potentially something where that money's going, there's companies here in the United States that overestimated the price of things. That is something that has greatly hurt Ukraine.
And it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't.
There, he's kind of telling Europe that this is your problem because, well, we're an ocean away. Something which is incorrect because they are our allies, and we're supposed to be with them no matter what.
He's grossly incompetent, and I think everyone knew that. This is something that should have never happened, would have never happened. And I used to discuss it with Putin.
That is also incorrect. Even under Donald Trump, Putin was preparing for this invasion. It took him about 5 to 8 years to build up the materials and things that he needed to do the logistics of this invasion. Originally, Putin had planned to do this in 2020, but then the pandemic happened.
Maybe millions of lives. This could even end up in a World War III. I mean, to be honest with you, you've been hearing now Europe is saying, well, I think we're going to go in and we're going to go. All of a sudden, you're going to end up in World War III over something that should have never happened. And, you know, it's a very sad situation. Yeah, please.
Yes, that is exactly what we're afraid of. A World War III. Something that we've been ringing the alarm, raising the alarm, that could happen if the world does not stand together against Russia and put them in their place. We are such at a scary time right now as Americans and as Europeans, where we see Russia being the bully on the world stage and the one large country that could have potentially stopped them from doing anything worse, from stopping them to stop going inside of Ukraine, stopping them from going into other elections and conquering other countries. The one country, America, is now just giving in to Russian propaganda. And that is scaring not only Europeans, because now they're trying to figure out we have to prepare for war, but it's also scaring Americans that know, hey, if we don't do something now, my kids in the future, your kids, your sons, your daughters will have to fight Russia. And that's the scary thing. And Trump recognizes that, but is not doing anything about it, except for siding with Russia. He says that Zelensky is not the legitimate president, even though Putin has not held a fair election in Russia. He says that Zelensky has a low approval rating, something that the Russian Kremlin spews out all the time, even though at this very moment, his approval rating is better than Donald Trump's. He makes it seem like he's besties with Putin and that this would have never happened under him because him and Putin, they go way back. But that's not true. If America goes down this path of Putin is in the right and Ukraine is in the wrong, World War III 100% will happen, no doubt in my mind. Especially if we have reports coming out that Russia has 150,000 troops in Belarus and they're preparing for something. Europe sees this happening. That's why they're having emergency meetings. Zelensky knows this is happening. He's the one raising the alarm and telling people our intel is showing all this stuff. And it's correct. Now, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if Donald Trump doesn't start reminding himself that Putin is the bad guy, we are going to have a World War III. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on everything happening around the world, so please share my videos and follow me for more.